question their role in society and hopefully to aim for more meaningful design. Now, what meaningful design means is something that's open to discussion. And of all the things I've done, this is the one that's kind of prompted most of the angry emails to me. People being quite annoyed that this question should even be asked. But a manifesto is a starting point. It's not giving the answers, it's raising the question, and it's definitely what it's trying to do. And I think at the time it really was a question that needed to be asked. Of course, it's always central to design, this issue. But especially in America, I think, where there are many designers who don't even talk about the issues of graphic design and its wide critical place in society. I think it provided a very important reminder for me. And also, I do think it did move the debate in graphic design much more to this area. So in some respects, I do think it succeeded. I mean, the nature of the emails I generally get is, did it change anything? No, graphic design changed suddenly because of it. But I think the dialogue around it did change. The manifesto was released in various different magazines, including iMagazine and others, and Emigrate. So it was seen on the international level. This is a billboard that Abbas and I did to go outside the AGI conference in Las Vegas. It's a quote by Tibor Kalman. Designers stay away from corporations that want you to lie for them. When I see that phrase, I mean, I'm a bit, it feels a bit odd to me. I absolutely agree with the sentiment. When I was at college in the 80s, the basic idea of graphic design was that we transparently communicate the client's message. We don't get in the way. And always it's something I've had to fight with my mind, and this is the exact opposite. I mean, the truth is, you can't help but get in the way. You make certain decisions, certain choices, and you have a certain vision vocabulary that you like, so you always get in the way. But there are so many other issues now, from when those tutors were educated in the 60s and thinking about the best way for the corporation or a client. I mean, the environment wasn't even on the agenda 20 or 30 years ago. So really, we do have to think about the wider issue of where graphic design is in society. It's got a pretty bad name for itself because of it. There we go. When you talk to most people about graphic design, I mean, there's a strata of visibility of the creative arts, and artists are at the top, then probably fashion designers, then architects, and graphic design is very much seen as a service industry. That is very hard to push against, especially if you're trying to encourage a client to go down an avenue either ideologically or maybe spend a little bit more and do something a bit more environmentally better. That doesn't mean to say we shouldn't try. Well, this is one issue of Adbusters that I worked on with the art directors. Then I went to Canada to work on it, and so increase my carbon footprint as I did. And this came out on the anniversary of the first manifesto. Designers are falling over each other's kiss calls. The more you consume, the less you do. That's a situationist phrase. It's very difficult for any graphic designer to get through and lecture out. Situationists, so that's my cliche mentioned today. And you have to be very careful with something like this, so you have to check. You can't arbitrarily make statements like this, so this kind of thing is checked. And that was about 20 people, and 2 or 3 are involved in legal stuff most of the time. Treading a very fine line. Doing this way.
That's cool.
And that's just getting involved with allegations of using child labour, and that happened again. And this comes from seeing many students' portfolios. First, doing this kind of work is not an ideology you just dip into. You can't have a portfolio where you've done cigarette packaging and then you've done a poster which is anti-consumerism. It's kind of inconsistent, disingenuous. I think you do this kind of thing, you have to believe in it. And again, it's graphic designers have to, you're not separate from the way you live and the things you believe in. So I know Ian says, he says citizen first, graphic design. Ian Noble says citizen first, graphic design second. So what you do as a graphic designer is what you believe as a whole in your life. And this thing about a portfolio, there's no point just sticking a poster about the environment in your portfolio. I mean, yes, you've understood maybe the process of producing work. If you believe in it, then you should be doing it. So, this was just so to remind us what graphic design is. It's a simple thing of writing a message on a piece of paper and putting it on a wall, and then telling people. So we tend to think about the history of graphic design as often as purely commercial or linked with arts movements. But you know, the vocabulary of protest is also graphic design. Graffiti is graphic design. This was when George Bush came to London. These were some posters we fly posted. London is a very dirty city, except if you've got a political fly poster, it tends to disappear within 3 hours. And I'm sure that's not because they think the typography is nice. It's because there are people going around taking them down. This one says, what should Bush be saying? Put in the bubbles. Draft dodgers shouldn't start wars. We managed to avoid things again. This one says, there are no longer any political ideologies or any corporate strategies. I tend to write the copy lines for a lot of political work I do. And I do think it's very important to first read a lot to get some critical context of your work. Second, to write as well, whether it's to understand how to write copy lines for faster text communication, or just to be able to criticise and understand the work. This one says you can't bomb an idea. It's a picture of Bin Laden and George Bush, which instantly turns around. You can't destroy a philosophy just by destroying it with weapons, you'll understand. I think he has his hand over his face because he's an illegal immigrant. I was accused of being racist for saying so. Anyway, I'll shut up. Right, because we asked things further on. Anyway, you did say I'm an illegal immigrant, he said. I'll shut up. Right, so I know there are a few type designers here, so I'm just going to move from the political bit to type design, but there still is an avenue of politics within it. Because as soon as I say it, it's ridiculous to talk about typography in relation to politics, of course. I'm going to typeface be political. It can be political because it's dealing with language and you're talking to a specific audience of designers. So, lexicons have cultural and political resonance. And they are the things that people make decrees in, they're the things that people lie with, the things that people seduce with. And that's why I'm interested in typeface. I run a font company called Virus. It's very dark. Is there any way to turn up the projector? Tony, all around. I'm sure. Which one is the